transition is with us, and it's here to stay. Global economics, technological changes at the speed of light, and social values that are changing faster than any time in the past. To help guide you along your journey in this fast-changing life, the show with a purpose: to empower, to enlighten, to educate, and to entertain. The show that offers you a friend, a guide in the most transitional time in the history of the human race. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's your host, Steve Beaman.
Hello, my friends, and welcome once again to a very special edition of the Steve Beaman Show. I'm Steve Beaman, your host, and here with my lovely and talented Carol Parisi. We're so happy to be with you today. It is our double A show, by the way. We've sequenced through our first 26. This is our 27th edition. So we're going to come at you with two A words that, working together, help transform a life.
Well, let's transform a life. Transform ourselves.
That's exactly right. Carol and I have been talking about so much of what's going on in the United States and around the world this week. And oh my goodness, it's going to be a big couple of weeks coming ahead, isn't it?
You know what? I know that we're not supposed to let our emotions drive what we do. But if this is not emotionally a draining time in our world right now, you're not paying attention.
I literally,
okay?
as we're prepping for the show, read, Carol, a New York Times headline that said Trump supporters claim revolution if Hillary wins. And I'm going, oh, seriously, do we really need this right now? Do we not all have enough to worry about without a revolution?
And then I started singing the big Beatles song. You say you want a revolution.
Which we were talking about. That's all about a revolution of the mind and the person, not of the nation.
And that is, that's kind of the solution.
John Lennon was really onto something. Again, it's not make America great, it's make Americans great.
That's the solution, to have a personal revolution.
And we need that. So today we're going to help you do that. We are going to start off in Mastering Your World talking about, once again, that elephant in the room. But we're going to talk in the Master Your Mind tonight about, well, I'm going to bring it up as the opposite of positive mental attitude. What's the downside to an overly positive mental attitude?
And I'm going to be all over him on this one, so stick around for segment number 2.
And then we do have our double A word at the bottom of the hour. And in the Master Your Money time, well, we're going to talk about a likely outcome on either side of this election. What happens if the Donald wins or if the Hillary wins? Notice they both get the in front of their name.
The Donald and the Hillary.
They are certainly, they're like, characters out of a Las Vegas sitcom.
That's true.
But we do want to start because we've got 1 week roughly to go before this election hits. And Carol and I have talked about it. And, you can have whatever political beliefs you want to hold. But at some point, you got to get to some basics. Number one, folks, go out and vote. Take the time to vote. Make your voice heard in this thing we call our republic. You
know what, Steve? I've spent many hours knocking on doors. And what gets me so aggravated a lot of times, with especially women, I'm not going to vote. And I look at these gals and I say to them, excuse me, but do you realize 100 years ago, you didn't even have this as a right. So this is something that other women fought for. Shame on you for not going ahead and having your voice be heard, because it does make a difference.
It does. And to the millennials who think they're outcast and nobody cares, go be a voting bloc. I guarantee you they'll listen to you. So go vote. But number 2, tied to that, I would suggest that you do 2 things. First of all, ignore the pollsters, because I know there's a feeling like, well, my candidate can't win, therefore why try? This time around, especially, the polls are totally wrong. They don't know what's going to happen.
You know what? And then you have to look at polls, and you have to look, and believe me, I don't know the actual verbiage, but if you start looking at who and what and where they're sampling, don't let the polls influence you. Don't, you know what? Never give up.
Republican or Democrat, I'm telling you, Hillary might win this, Donald might win this. You got to go vote. And you got to tell your friends and neighbors to vote for your candidate, because one of them's going to come out on top, and it's going to be whoever turns out the vote. But the other thing tied to that, I guess, as Carol and I talked, I was saying that I hope people this time around will challenge their own assumptions. If you've been a lifelong Republican, challenge your assumption. Don't just go vote because you're a Republican. Vote because you agree with lower taxes, lower regulation, and more economic liberty. If you're a Democrat and you've always voted Democratic, don't just pull the Democratic ticket. If you want that agenda, vote for more taxes, more regulation, and less economic liberty. Those are clearly stated. I mean, it's never been more clear. So whatever that little insignia is next to your name, ignore it and vote for the policies you think will work for your kids.
You know something? I hate to say this, but I think labels R&D. I think that's part of our systematic problem with why our country is in such a funk right now.
Well, it overly simplifies things, right? So everybody, what are you? I'm a this. Okay. All I'm saying is, listen, if you, and I mean this to the Republicans and to the Democrats, ignore your label. Vote for the policies you want. Lower taxes, less regulation, and more economic freedom. Higher taxes, more regulation, less economic freedom. It's crystal clear. Republican or Democrat, vote for the policies you think work best.
Vote policy, not party.
Absolutely, and certainly not personality. Lord, no matter who gets elected, we're going to have headaches for the next 4 years whenever they go on camera. So I don't know. But, I understand something. And again, as we talk about you and we talk about what the purpose of our show is and why we're doing it, be comforted in this. You don't need to be fearful about it. The fact is the country will survive. Yes, it could go down a very dangerous path with either candidate. Yes, it could go down a brighter path with either candidate. But the reality is it's never as bad as we think, and it's usually not as good as we think either.
You know what, though? The sad thing is that liberties and freedoms are being progressively and systematically taken away. And
because we allow it.
Do we really allow
Absolutely.
it?
Absolutely. We vote for these people.
But I think a lot of times people say one thing and do other things. Let's take Obamacare. Let us take the Affordable Care Act,
right.
Okay? What is going on now with the Affordable Care Act in 2017?
We know that premiums are going up and deductibles are going up, right? But I know people firsthand who will tell you without the Affordable Care Act, I know a girl who would tell you her child would be dead.
Okay, let's look at it in a collective. Okay, so how many people do you think this is really benefiting versus the populace?
In my opinion, it hurts everybody. It's the notion of a lowering tide lowers all boats. I really do. I think that it's hard to quantify it to a number and say, well, 20 million people picked up insurance, which they really didn't. They just got on the Medicaid rolls.
Right.
And, the small business community lost their insurance. So we transferred wealth. We transferred this stuff. I think it's easier to say that if we look at Europe is not a dynamic economy. Europe is not a dynamic society. Europe is a very quiet, staid society where no one transitions from poverty to wealth, and very few people transition from wealth to poverty. That's the Affordable Care Act in a nutshell. We're trying to normalize and equalize everyone, and that just lowers all boats.
I remember being engaged during the Affordable Care Act and going out and interviewing the man on the street. And I was interviewing people that were a proponent for it. And most of them were saying, we want a single-payer system.
Absolutely.
Do you think this Affordable Care Act was designed to fail to create a single-payer system?
No, I'm not that cynical. I don't think it was designed to fail. I think it just inevitably would fail because it doesn't work. But I do think that the people behind it want Medicare for all. Now, again, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but the hypocrisy of us as people is overwhelming to me. The right is so quick to say, I don't want government, I don't want government, I don't want government, until it comes to Medicare. I want my Medicare. Well, wait a minute. You're asking the youth of this country to pay for your medical care?
You know what I feel to be very egregious is, first of all, I am an herbalist. I believe in natural protocols. I don't even believe in going to, shame on me, okay, I don't want to hear from, I don't go to doctors.
It's Carol@stevebeaman.com.
I believe my health depends on my own responsibility of taking good care of myself and exercising.
That's the physical path.
Absolutely, and eating properly. Emergent medicine is a different situation. But why should I be forced to pay for someone who's going to sit around and eat Cheetos?
Then why do you pay for Medicare for your father?
Because I have do we have choice? Is there a choice?
But do we agree that Medicare should exist for the elderly? I'm telling you, this stuff's
my
slippery
dad doesn't
slope.
use any of his wellness,
right?
his health benefits either. He doesn't use them, and he's 88 years old.
Well, I want to go back, though, that Medicare single payer is what they want. They want a base level of medical care for all Americans. It is more efficiently administered because it's one thing. However, if Medicare is an example of it, all we do is transfer wealth from kids to adults. It's the ultimate Ponzi scheme. And eventually Ponzi schemes break, and Medicare will break too. That's why we have about $100 trillion in promised benefits that we can't pay.
That's called the unfunded liabilities.
Unfunded liabilities. We've promised people benefits. The money ain't there. So again, we don't want to harp on politics on this show. We're not about it. We're about you. Again, this idea of making individuals great. But you do have to master your world. You've got to get out and vote. You've got to be part of this thing. And you have to be aware. We've talked in Mastering Your World about Brexit. We've talked about China and what they've done. In fact, we were just talking today. China just bought the Philippines. The Philippines renounced their allegiance to the United States. That's a big deal. We are the reason they exist. And they just renounced their allegiance to us to go to China because it's a better economic trading partner for them.
It's crazy.
It is a transitional time, is it not? So when we come back, we do move into the Master Your Mind segment. I know you all are aware of that because you listen to us regularly, we hope, here on the Steve Beaman Show. But we are going to talk about really an opposite side of the coin this time, how to find out that maybe having a positive attitude isn't all it's cracked up to be. There's Carol hissing at me. We'll be right back for that.
Hi friends, Carol Parisi here. If you're like me, you're always on the quest for improved sleep and more energy. I discovered the secret to getting this. It's tart cherries and their restorative powers. It's been found that tart cherry juice, like the Cherry Bundy brand, could help to relieve aches and pains, provide faster muscle recovery, and help you get a good night's sleep. The science shows that tart cherries and Cherry Bundy are rich in antioxidants that help reduce inflammation in the body. These antioxidants also work to reduce exercise-induced oxidative stress to help your body recover faster. Tart cherries also contain naturally occurring melatonin, known as a key ingredient to a good night's rest. To learn more about the science behind tart cherry juice, check out ChooseCherries.com. It's full of data from independent research studies. My favorite tart cherry juice brand is Cherry Bundy, which you could find at CherryBundy.com, spelled CHERIBUNDI.com. And tell them Steve and Carol sent you.
It's good to be alive. And if you caught that little blip right as I came back in, I was actually talking to Carol about the size of state geographies versus population. We're going to get in trouble on the off-camera stuff. By the way, go to the video at stevebeaman.com. You can see some of that banter back and forth.
See, Steve, it's good to be alive right about now. That's positive, motivating.
It is good to be alive.
Awesome.
And you know what? Life is what we make of it. But here's what we want to talk about with you, because I think sometimes people get a little bit frustrated with the positive mental attitude movement, and I'm one of them. And here's my setup for this. Do you ever have one of those days when things are just not going right? You may have had a death in the family, a sickness, an illness, a divorce, something just not right. And for a while, you want to grieve about it. You want to feel a little bit, hold on, let me finish this. She's looking at me with those eyes. But you want to feel a little bit like, look, I have a right to feel sorry for myself for a while. The last thing you need is one of these PMA people coming up going, oh, you're going to be fine. Let's just put that behind you. Let's go. I'd want to punch him in the nose.
Okay. All right. Well,
okay. I don't really want to punch him in the nose because I'm going to get in trouble.
That's not
assault.
who you are. That's not who you are. Okay. Steve, now when we were just talking a little bit about this, I said, I'm going to come, I totally disagree with you. Okay, but here's the truth. You said the last thing you need is someone else to come and do that for you, even though their intention is good.
Yeah, they just make you mad.
And yes, there are times that you need to go ahead and be sad. You need to explore. And I know you love where you're going to hate.
Emotions.
Yes,
right? I'm fine with that.
You're going to need to tap into those emotions and let those emotions be resonant in with you, not let them control you. See, there's a difference. What you say, you're right. You're right.
Okay,
now I'm going to agree with you.
I want everybody to hear what she just said. These are important words. Quote, Carol Parisi, Steve, you're right.
Yes, but now those big butts. Okay, I don't mean to put a big butt in here. Steve, you said you just want to be left alone. When stuff is getting funky, you're going through a divorce and you're down. I remember when I was in my 20s and my boyfriend broke up with me and things were really hard. And I had some of my friends pounding on my door. Let us in, let us in. I just wanted to process. I wanted to be sad. I want not to sit around and have a pity party.
Yeah, maybe you needed to for a while too.
But you need to do that because it's cathartic. Because when you address a situation, you allow yourself to surrender to the situation and then move forward to the situation.
So we agree.
But then you have to take your own mindset and transform your own mind from depression and the blues.
I agree, but let's go to the next one. And this is why I wrote the article called The Problem with Positive Mental Attitude. It is frequently done in our culture today where people will bring you into a weekend seminar, they'll bring you into a church service, and they'll preach positive mental attitude. All you need is your attitude. And what happens more often than not is people fail to act because they think their positive attitude will carry the day. And that's not true. If you're not willing to put positive action behind your positive attitude, forget it. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
I needed you to say
it's the two A's,
That's
attitude and action. You need, first of all, you need to hold all your thoughts captive. Because in your mind, if you think you cannot do something, if you have a negative attitude and you're down and you're blue and you're having your pity pot, you're not going to be as effective in your action. So your attitude and your mindset is going to feed yourself to take action. It's not just sitting around going...
But Carol, you would concede the point that a positive mental attitude in and of itself may lead to a negative outcome.
Well, yeah, because then you become delusional.
All right, that's two. You agreed with me at first time, and you just agreed with me again.
I agree with you a lot, except let's talk about the Federal Reserve.
We'll go down the rabbit hole. So the point, folks, that we want to get across is that attitude in a vacuum is a good thing, and we do need to control ourselves for that. We need to look generally to the optimistic side of our future because it's what we have. But absent action, it doesn't do anything, and it actually can make you worse off because you'll find that your positive attitude led you to more problems.
Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about positive attitude. You have to have a positive action. You have to take actions that are going to move you forward to what your goals and your dreams are. Because if you're taking, not all action is good action. Example, friend, went ahead, start a business, took every penny of their resources to do this without any research, without any due diligence, just threw money at it. That in and of itself
sounds like me with this radio show. but let me put the wrapper around this. And the reason we want to talk about positive attitude with positive action is that when you talk about the 5 paths, and you know, folks, we preach 5 paths to a transformed life: emotional health, intellectual health, physical health, spiritual wellness, and financial prosperity. When you look at those, to have a positive attitude on each of them, to believe that you can empower yourself and better your life, that's good. But behind each, you have to have positive action as well.
And you know, sometimes, Steve, it's hard to do a plan of action, because if you really are confused and there's no clarity and you are in somewhat of a funky mindset, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
And then sometimes really difficult.
And sometimes you look at that light and go, that's the train. The train's going to hit me. That's what that light is. So
anyone who's been through challenges in their life knows that feeling of, I don't want to leave my bedroom because beyond that door is scary.
And you know what?
And it's all in your mind. We know that, but it's scary. People who suffer from bad depression, they don't want to get out of bed because getting out of bed means I'm exposed to this world that I find scary. Attitude won't fix that. It helps.
It's a first step, but you need to take action. And you know what? Sometimes taking that action is tapping in and talking to your pastor, or get yourself a coach, somebody that has, you know what? There's nothing like somebody who has been there and rocked that. If you could tap into somebody that has had the same similar experience as you, they can give you suggestions, practical suggestions of action to help you. And believe me, you and I have been through enough that you and I could.
So here, the bottom line, don't forget to write Carol at stevebeaman.com, because we get those emails to her and we can maybe help you put an action plan together to help you turn the positive mental attitude into something that's really positive, not just a weekend seminar. Well, hey, I feel really good about myself, but nothing changed. And now I feel worse about myself because I don't feel better about myself, but I should.
Well, you know what? You just said something profound, because a lot of times you go to these rah-rah seminars and And they don't leave you with enough tools unless you want to spend $150,000 for their eternal life coaching program. But they don't leave you with enough tools. And then you see all these people that are like, oh, I'm so successful. And then you start comparing yourself against them. And that's another thing that psychologically brings you down. Like, I'm not as good. Hey, you know what? You are awesome. You are an individual creation. God makes no junk. Just tap into your thoughts, your attitudes. And it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to be sad.
By the way, I'm Mr. Cynical in life, right? But I will support something you just said. When you said you're awesome, God doesn't make junk. I subscribe to that. But I know that our life's experiences sometimes lead people down a path that does create dysfunction in their being.
It's all our own choices.
As we look at them, they may not be so awesome, right? But that doesn't mean they don't have it within them to become awesome. I mean, look at the egregious examples of Mao or Joe Stalin or Adolf. Did they have it in them to become awesome people? Yeah, with about 100 years of psychological counseling.
Everything a megalomaniac does, if they would take all of those skill sets and use them for good and for truth and for helping others, it's the duality, Steve.
I don't disagree. If you study like Gandhi and compare it to a Mao, they're actually the opposite sides of the same coin. It's
exactly.
Scary.
I know it is scary. And that's why we should deploy our skill sets, our talents, and everything we do for good. Okay, for truth.
So in your life, as you're listening to us now in your car or at home or on the web, and you're hearing these words, take it upon yourself to say, what within me can I use for the good of another? You'll find that fulfills an action plan to get you on a good step.
Do you also know, Steve, our greatest gifts are also our biggest torments? One of my greatest gifts is my big mouth. My big mouth has gotten me in more trouble than I care to admit on so many levels.
We would all admit that.
Well, but they say your greatest gifts are also it's the dual-edged sword of the duality.
There's absolute truth to that. So again, as you're going through your day, yes, have a positive, confident attitude about the future that you're building for yourself. It is an absolute fact that today is the first day of the rest of your life, and tomorrow is the first day of the rest of your life. Make it so. Make it a future that you believe in, that you can wrap your arms around and say, thank you, I love my life.
And say thank you that you love your life the way you are right now, because how many people died today that don't have a life? So always be grateful. Always be grateful for everything.
There's a funny relativeness here that you can look at almost any circumstances.
Exactly.
I'm better off than that. You know.
Right.
But yeah, this is important. But I did want to touch on, I'd written that article years ago, and I thought it was important to bring up because most of us are feeling kind of a malaise right now. And that plays into, is it just an attitude to get us out of it, or is it action? And as we've discussed, it's kind of both. Hey, when we come back at the bottom of the hour, we got a dual word right for you. A funny thing happened over the past years. Responsibility for retirement got shoved onto your back. IRAs, KIOs, 401ks, and all the other alphabet soup of investment options were thrown to you with the happy statement, you're now in charge of your own retirement. The problem is, money doesn't come with an instruction book. Well, here's the instruction book with no biases, no conflicts of interest, a pure purpose to promote and provide financial education. Welcome to the Society to Advance Financial Education, a 501c3 not-for-profit organization created and sustained to help you, real people in the real world. When you need a friend in finance, someone to explain things and make them understandable to you, you need SAFE. We have spoken to hundreds, thousands of people in transition, men and women dealing with retirement, college planning, divorce, death, transitions of all kinds, and we are there to help. Visit safefinancial.org on the web and become a member. Let our educational tools help you. Welcome back to the Steve Beaman Show. I'm Steve Beaman, your host, here with Carol Parisi, as we once again this week empower you with the knowledge you need individually to transform your life into what you know it could be. As we come each week to the bottom of the hour, this started as Carol has this little black book kind of thing, and it has words in there for all the letters of the alphabet. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we gave people a word of the week to think about? Well, we've now gone from A, which began 27 weeks ago with attitude. We went on to believe, commitment, et cetera, et cetera.
Good. You remember those. You're so good.
In a mindful way, I remember them, if you remember the M word. But today, because it is our AA week, not Alcoholics Anonymous, although we respect their processes, Carol, where are we going on a double A week?
Well, okay, we're going to see what we do moving forward. But today, I picked 2 words that begin with A. And since we're talking about the negative side of a positive attitude, I decided to go with the duality of awareness and apathy. To be awake and aware, or to be apathetic. Aren't those the antithetical sides
I would
there?
argue that they're the antithesis of a fulfilled life. How can one go through life being apathetic about anything?
Well, sometimes you do that to protect yourself, because then you don't have to feel about anything.
Interestingly said, because I find people in life who are apathetic do it as a defense mechanism. I don't want to get in the argument. I don't want to put myself and my opinions forward. Therefore, I'm apathetic.
Exactly. It's easier. You know what? It's easier to be apathetic because you don't have to be aware. Sometimes truly, if you think about it, there's a saying, ignorance is bliss.
It's not.
Well, but
it's not, Carol.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to give you an example. I happen to like veal. Veal piccata is one of my favorites. And one of my girlfriends was starting to become a vegetarian. Okay. And she started telling me what they do to these baby calves and how they keep them to make veal.
They go to slaughterhouses.
Well, it's some of the stuff they do. And I'm just like,
all right.
Jane,
okay, I'll buy the ignorance is bliss. But no, here's the reality.
Because now that I'm aware of that, I think 16 times before I eat veal, because it's like,
that's also because we're at the top of the food chain and we've got so much food, we don't have to worry about having enough food.
We're only at the top of the food chain here. I say if you go into the great waters of the great white shark, it may change your paradigm.
We still can take him out as long as I have a gun.
Well, there you go.
Going back, this idea of awareness and apathy, folks, it's the reason this show exists again. If you think about that segment, the first one, Master Your World, the reason we do that is to bring to you the information you need to know. We talked today about the Philippines being, in effect, purchased by China. That's important information. You cannot be apathetic about it. Will it affect you tomorrow? No. But should you know about it so that you can have an opinion and you can be part of the engagement of being that great American that we want everybody to be? Absolutely.
Well, like you said, awareness. I remember before we even started this show, I was at one of the Jewels that had an ATM, and this young gal, 25 years old, was putting money into a checking account and saying to her boyfriend, I don't understand it. I just put $500 into my checking account and my available balance is only $100. How could that be? And remember, I called you. I said, Steve, people need to understand finances. Our young people are not aware of what's going on.
We're not. And folks, you don't have a good news source anymore. I feel sorry for you. You can't watch ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, name it, and it's an entertainment show.
Yep.
One of the things we're trying to do is give you real world, rubber meets the road information, whether it's to master your world, master your mind, master your word, master your money, master your life. It's all encompassing to say this is the kind of stuff that makes Americans great.
Well, and you know what we do? You know what? We have to be the change. We have to be the change. Yes, I know a lot of our listeners go out and they see what's going on with this election. And
they feel uncertain about it.
Well, and besides that, let's face it, Hillary Clinton, 33,000 emails, and there's been nothing in the FBI.
Donald Trump groping women. I mean, that's why I don't want to get into it.
I know we won't get into it.
For every slam on Hillary's personality, I've said openly I think she's a criminal. Donald is a buffoon. So look at the policies.
But if you're talking about the mainstream media. The mainstream media is very, very skewed.
Carol,
they're not giving truth.
Fox. Fox gives you the right. CNN gives you the left.
I'm just saying the media is giving you
they're entertainment companies. They're entertainment companies. They're out to energize their base of listeners because it sells more advertising. So this idea of being aware and not apathetic, I'm trying to get some sense of ability back to this, but the idea is that you do know what's going on with the intellectual path to say, I understand it. I don't buy into the lies of the media or of Facebook, which is where most people will get there. How many times, and I've gotten caught up into this, I see an article, I forward it and go, wow, look at this. And then one of my kids will say, Dad, that was debunked as a,
Guilty.
Okay, right. We all are.
But I always put like, is this really true? Perhaps.
Well, and that's where conspiracies are launched, right? Oh my goodness. But the idea, folks, is to be aware, to be unapathetic, to be knowledgeable, engaged. And by doing that, your children will benefit, your parents will benefit, your grandchildren will benefit, our society will benefit from the bottom up rather than this top-down imposition.
You're empowering yourself when you are awake and aware of things.
There's no question. You absolutely are. So it's the purpose of our show. If you can need some help on that, write Carol at stevebeaman.com or Steve at stevebeaman.com. And don't forget, this segment that we talk about is sponsored by our friends at Cherry Bundy. They manufacture a beautifully delicious tart cherry juice. You need to go to your stores and write Carol if you want some free coupons. Hey, the Master of Money segment, well, we're talking about what to look for going forward after this election. We just finished tax time, and I know, like me, many of you are thinking, wow, this gets more complicated every year. I'm Steve Beaman, and my friends at Grebe & Associates have been helping individuals and successful businesses for over 20 years. In construction, they say measure twice and cut once. In accounting, trust me, research and plan before you act. When you need powerful tax and accounting advice for you or for your business, contact Grebe & Associates at 630-653-3510. Visit Grebe & Associates.
Now, back to the Steve Beaman Show for insight on your money and the nation's financial future.
Welcome, my friends, once again to the Steve Beaman Show, where we are now in the Master Your Money segment, where we talk about your money, the nation's future, and the world around us, always with that notion of where does the rubber meet the road. So we're here today, and I thought, okay, look, again, it's the elephant in the room. What's going to happen to the U.S. economy after the election? Carol, tell us.
Steve, what's going to happen to the U.S. economy after the election?
All right, so on my paper, if you're watching on video now, you'll see me draw a ball. It's my crystal ball.
Oh,
and
cute.
I'm waving my hands over it, saying, Alibaba or whatever it is that you say.
You don't think it's gonna crash?
No, I don't know. Here's the deal. Let's be realistic. Okay, the economy is somewhat separate from politics.
How?
Well, the markets don't really care. They care about policy, not personality.
I thought the markets don't like uncertainty in anything.
They don't, which is why they're flat.
Okay.
They're not moving any direction right now. Okay. Here's reality. The election's going to happen on the second Tuesday of November, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a couple weeks out. Either Trump's going to win or Clinton's going to win. We know that. I doubt it'll be a tie.
I don't know.
So the next day, several things are going to start to happen. Half of the country is going to be in revolution, saying it was fixed, the election was fixed. Both sides are going to say it. There's going to be a notion of more civil unrest on either side. Doesn't matter who wins.
Right.
But the markets are going to be going, okay, policies, folks, what are you going to do? If it's a Trump election and he comes out with a very calming, I'm glad we won. It was a tough battle. Economically, we're going to cut regulation, cut taxes, and do that kind of thing. And we're going to keep trade. We're not going to close the borders and have trade wars. The markets will be very positive to that, and the economy will likely respond positively. Right now, consumer confidence is down. Business confidence is down. You guys feel this. It's measured by the indexes.
I heard something that was a Citibank that I said. It said 1 in 3 chance that our economy is going to.
Barclays has said it. I mean, everybody's saying that. We all know that there's a chance of a real reset in the market because the Fed wants to raise interest rates. That is independent of who wins the election. They want to do it either way. So if Clinton gets elected and she has the mindset to go, it's been a tough election, but, I won't cackle at you too much. No. But I really am going to implement these policies. I want to raise regulation. I want to reinforce Grant Dodd-Frank. I want to push more regulations. I think the economy over time will react in malaise over that. So I think we either have malaise with Hillary or with Trump. I don't know. We could have a nice boom to the economy. If he puts in trade sanctions against anybody, we're looking at a real problem.
What do you mean? Yeah, but do you think it's fair that we have to pay tariffs and everything and the incoming?
No. So let's get the other countries to cut our tariffs. Let's not put tariffs on them in punitive ways. That's going to hurt.
But
I know it sounds good. I know it's
if we're paying them tariffs and they're not paying us tariffs, wouldn't tariffs help with that $20 trillion elephant in the room?
No, what it will stop is the global trade.
But we don't want to stop global trade
Let's
anyway.
be realistic. A bulk of American business sells overseas. We are a huge global economy now. You put up trade barriers to the United States, which is, you could argue it's the second largest, but I'll say still the largest consumer economy in the world. I mean, China would be very closely competitive with that, if not bigger. But either way, you don't want to restrict. That's not the way to do this. The way to do it is to take positive steps, not negative steps. Instead of penalizing other countries for importing to us, make our economy more attractive. Cut regulation, cut taxes, make business want to come here instead of Ireland. Make it attractive. Right. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, but how do you make? Okay, we're lucky. We're in the land of Illinois. How come a lot of businesses are going across the border to Wisconsin and Indiana to do business? For the same
reason they're going out of the United States to Ireland, regulation and taxes. Cut regulations first, give the economy a little boom, then go after corporate taxes, which now, and I know, folks, this gets me in trouble on the left. Corporations don't pay enough. Let me tell you an economic fact. Corporations do not pay tax. They charge consumers. If a product costs $1, and the corporation gets a tax increase of 10 cents, they don't all of a sudden say, well, geez, we're cutting our profits 10 cents. They raise prices. You, the people, pay taxes. So we got to get over this whole thought we can tax corporations to make prosperity. You can't. Now, I agree there are some needed things there because corporations can erroneously hold on to things and do things funny. I don't mind a little bit of taxation, but we don't want to do it at the level we do now.
Yeah, no, we're taxing ourselves to death.
So if you're sitting there and you're worried about your 401k and your retirement, folks, the Society to Advance Financial Education, which is the not-for-profit organization that sponsors this segment, you can go to safefinancial.org. They will help you get a handle on what really is going to happen. The reality, it's not going to be as bad as people think, and it won't be as good as people think.
So should we pull our money out of the market and go liquid until the election's over?
I think that's a risk profile.
Opinion?
This market could boom straight up, too. We don't know. We don't know. That's the crystal balls don't work right now. They're all kind of gone blank. They're just foggy.
It's foggy.
But business. So we're talking about the AT&T merger, right?
Right.
Companies are sitting on trillions of dollars of cash because they don't know what to do. They're as concerned as we are. So right now, is it a good time to be on the sidelines? Yeah, you could make that argument, certainly. But is it a chance to miss a real upside opportunity? Of course. And if you're a daily investor, more active, and you can go short the market, well, this may be a time to take, if there's a downside to positive mental attitude, maybe there's a downside to the market that works too.
Hey, what about the Money Stop?
The Money Stop, which is an organization that's looking to sponsor us as well, provides everything from payment processing for small business to emergency loans for consumers. You want to check them out at moneystop.net, themoneystop.net, or write me at steve@stevebeaman.com and I'll send you to the owner. Carol at stevebeaman.com if you have normal questions and say, you know what, guys, you need to talk about this.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll be right back to wrap it all up with Mastering Your Life.
Welcome back to the Steve Beaman Show. This is your fastest hour in radio. This is Carol Parisi, co-host with your host, Steve Beaman. Steve, interesting show today.
Well, it's been certainly different as we talked about the big political issue coming on stream and what that means, because we did say, folks, go out and vote. Make your voice known. Even if you don't think your candidate can win, go out and vote and think outside the box. If you're a Republican, bypass the Trump personality. If you like his policies, vote for him. But if you're a Democrat, bypass the Hillary personality. Vote for the policies you think are better for you and for your kids.
You know, Steve, it's funny because there is something called voter malaise out there. There's like they've got a whole new.
Don't we feel it? It's kind of like, oh, why bother? But anyway, I think you kind of have to. And then we, of course, talked about the positives or the difficulty with just a positive mental attitude, which Carol agreed with me twice.
Yes, I did. I agree with you a lot. You know I do. When you first were saying, I'm just going to talk against the positive, and I said, I'm going to get you, Steve. I'm going to get you.
I know.
And
we had some
right.
fun with it, though. But it's an important concept that without positive action, a positive attitude can often have an unintended consequence of a negative result.
Absolutely.
You want to watch for that. And then we did talk for quite a while about our double A word.
Well, it's... Go ahead. It's
awakening
and apathy.
Apathy, the worst possible concept. To be apathetic is so miserable because it means you've dialed out and you no longer have a care. Carol and I joke back and forth. You hear us on the show all the time about passion and emotion. Well, part of not being apathetic is to have some emotion, expose yourself.
You know, sometimes though, apathy it's a protective measure. I mean, it's like if you don't engage and you don't feel,
it's safe.
It could be safe.
Could be safe, but then you could get trampled on too.
Oh, well,
so sometimes, it's a little fun to have that dialogue and maybe just say, you know what, I believe this. Well, okay, throw it out there.
Throw it out there.
And then make life do whatever goes. And then, of course, in the Master Your Money time, we did talk about this election because I get so many questions from people. What's going to happen afterwards? I'm on interview after interview after interview. What's going to happen? And the fear, uncertainty, and doubt in our economy is massive. And everybody listening to us feels it. It's a uncertain time.
Do you think this fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and all of this negative, do you think it's feeding each other, feeding itself, and it's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy?
No question, Carol. We've said before, Roosevelt was right when he said the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Tomorrow is a day we make of it. If we expect it to be bad, it will be bad. Well, if we expect it to be good, we'll make it good.
Do you think it has anything to do? I mean, I don't know. I just hope people come together after this election, though. I mean, because we are America.
Fat chance.
But we're supposed to be the United States of America, and we haven't been in a very long time.
Do you actually think Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump are going to bring the other side together? Not going to happen. They've split. This country's so split right now. It's going to take a very big force to bring people together.
That's a scary thought.
It's the Steve Beaman show.
Yes, there you go.
Why not?
I like that. I was looking at the negative side of a scary thought. That
it really is why we exist, to give a different spin on all of it. But next week is our Double B show. Now we may be gone next week because we've got some other stuff we have to do. So we're going to play the W show?
Maybe.
Yeah, we're not sure. So stick around for that because you're going to catch a different one. We do want to thank James Thompson, our producer, who puts this all together and always makes it possible for us to give you a show.
Thank you, Jim.
It's always nice. And, of course, our sponsors, the Society to Advance Financial Education at safefinancial.org, the organization that is truly out to empower you with the knowledge you need. And as Carol is now demonstrating and showing, Cherry Bundy, who are friends that make the tart cherry juice, give Carol a note at carol@stevebeaman.com if you'd like some free samples of that.
Free coupons.
John Grebe, who's our friend out in Wheaton, is an accountant at 630-653-3510, I believe it is. And then also there are new ones, the Money Stop, which is the moneystop.net, and Job Foremans, which if you're looking for a new job placement, you want to write me at steve@stevebeaman.com. It's our great pleasure, as always, to be with you folks. Next week on the Double B Show, we think we've got a really exciting thing for the next time around when we do that. And we continue to progress down a path to say, from our hearts to your hearts, this show is genuinely about you. It is all about you, my friends.
Join us next week.
Do it, absolutely. And Godspeed the week ahead. May it be blessed and profitable and productive for you.
And go vote. Bye-bye.